fiddlesticks.
Welcome back, moviegoers, to another Midnight Movie Madness. I'm your host, and joining me here today is Hildebeast and Lala for our review for Suicide Squad.
The Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad.
The Suicide Squad comics have been a pretty huge staple for most DC fans, dating all the way back to the late 1950s. For those unfamiliar, they basically revolve around a good chunk of interchangeable villains in the DC universe who are forced to go on shady black ops missions by way of explosive devices inserted in the back of their necks.
That's sick, man. They
certainly had all the makings for a pretty cool big screen adaptation, but the last time they attempted to bring the Suicide Squad to life,
we wanted to commit suicide.
Well, maybe not that extreme, but it wasn't very good. Now that it's been 5 years since Warner Brothers shit the bed on their first outing, we now have a new, twisted, bloodier, and surprisingly sweet version of Task Force X, courtesy of Guardians of the Galaxy helmer James Gunn. This time, we have a brand new team of asshole mercenaries with a slew of familiar favorites on a mission run by Amanda Waller, reprised again by Viola Davis, to infiltrate a remote enemy-infused island to destroy all traces of Project Starfish, and if you're a longtime comic book reader, you know what's up. Included in this enormous roster of cannon fodder are Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn, Idris Elba's Bloodsport, John Cena's Peacemaker, Joel Kinnaman's Rick Flag, and a crap ton of others who most likely won't make it past the opening credits.
I mean, it's fun just to see, like, Nathan Fillion. It's like, there's a lot of, like, big actors in it, and you're just like, wait, this is so random.
Yeah.
And they're playing these, like, whole characters, and it's just like, this is gonna be a show, and it is, and it's fantastic.
It's awesome.
Man, this movie's gory.
I know.
It is so gory.
So
I knew it was going to be gory, but I didn't think it was going to be that gory.
The opening minutes let you know early on just what kind of film you're in for, and if you're not pissing your pants with laughter watching most of these low-life rejects die in the most gruesomely over-the-top ways imaginable, then this movie's probably not going to be your cup of tea.
Duly noted.
They did such a great job, like, bringing James Gunn in. I mean, like, that was probably the best thing that they could have done. The best, like, director for the job. I think that's why Guardians was so successful, because he just has talent in, like, bringing the lesser known to life.
And he kind of changed a little bit of the direction of, like, how Marvel movies were made. So hopefully this goes in the right direction for DC, like, with the new Batman. I just hope they just make movies that are good.
Yeah.
Like,
that's all we're asking for. Just good movies.
You don't need to make a universe. Just make good stories.
This movie could have easily been as big of a mess as the 2016 movie due to how many characters are in it and how insanely weird it's unafraid to be sometimes, but it manages to find an even balance between being mean-spirited and heartfelt, mostly due to James Gunn's perfectly concise vision and, in my opinion, Daniela Melchior's breakout performance as Ratcatcher 2, whose ability to control rats goes hand in hand with seeing the best in these broken people.
I love her character. It's so weird because it's like such a dirty, rotten animal, and we're thinking that the whole time, like, oh my god, why rats? And even that gets answered, you know what I mean? In such a sweet, like, melancholy way, you know, you're just like, oh my god, this is beautifully sad, and I have, like, so much love for this character now, and, like, her story.
One of my favorite characters was easily Polka Dot Man, whose superpower quite literally consists of throwing polka dots at people, which bewilders everyone on the team.
It's probably the most interesting and, like, hilarious character. His complex, I think, is what sticks out to me.
Yeah, I love King Shark. King Shark is also, like, one of my favorite characters from the Harley Quinn cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
Same here.
Like, they went with a very different origin, or one of the many origins, I guess, that King Shark has had.
Everyone will definitely know the voice behind King Shark, Sylvester
Stallone. It's almost like kind of an unfair characterization of Sylvester Stallone. Like, he's always kind of depicted as this, like,
big dumb idiot.
Yeah, exactly. So I think he probably had a lot of fun.
One of my favorite scenes, it's Bloodsport and Peacemaker are, like, trying to one-up each other on how they kill people.
That is one of the best scenes in the movie.
It's one of the best scenes of the movie, and I was dying like these people in the scene, and it was just like, so good, and like John Cena and like Idris Elba, their chemistry together is so good. I mean, they're just so well cast. Like James Gunn really cared. Like even though these characters are just like so ancillary, and James Gunn cared so much about these characters that like even you kind of care about them no matter how long they're on screen. You're just like, oh, I'm slightly invested in this person or this person, and then they get their face blown off or something. It's just like, well, I guess that's over. You know?
What'd you guys think of Harley Quinn this time around?
At first I was like, well, this kind of sucks. I love Margot Robbie. I mean, she does a great job as Harley Quinn. I really do think that. But the movie she's been, like, you know, the first Suicide Squad was meh. And then even, like, Birds of Prey, kind of badly written. But I think in this one, she really does shine. And she has one of my favorite fight scenes as well.
Dude.
Like, that thing was brutal, and I was like, holy shit, this is cool. So it was, like, really fun to, like, see her do that. And she really obviously loves the character. We just need a good Joker.
Jared Leto's like, can I come back? No. No. The climax of this movie is ridiculous.
I mean, but it has to be. It has to be
over the top, but it's over the top in the best way.
It also doesn't waste any time. Like,
it
gets right into the
You're gonna have to watch it again because you're gonna be crying laughing
through like half the parts.
So you're gonna be like, I missed that because I can't see anything because there's tears in my eyes.
This movie is very unkind to birds.
I was like, what? That was one of the. I was like, does James Gunn have like a thing against birds?
I know. The first thing that happens, bird eats it with a ball.
And then like they burn birds alive.
I was like, dang, dude, what happened to you as a child with birds?
On a scale from 1 to 10, what would you give the Suicide Squad?
I'm gonna just. I'm afraid to do it, but I think I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10.
All right.
There's really nothing to hate about this movie for me. It's comic book, it's action, great characters, it's super fun violence, which is weird to say. I'm gonna watch it over and over. Like, it's one of those movies I'm definitely gonna keep going back to and really enjoy. And if people haven't seen it, I'm gonna make them watch it immediately.
I think because the bar was set so low, like it went so above and beyond what anyone probably expected. I set my bar a little bit higher because James Gunn was involved, and I knew that he was going to bring something awesome to the film, and I was like blown away by how funny it was. I mean, the gory parts really surprised me, but it also worked so well. It's not like, that was sick, like I'm gonna throw up. It was more like, that was awesome. So there's really not much else that I can say. I just think I have to give it a 10 out of 10 as well, because I don't have anything bad to say about it. It is that perfect entertaining film, and I'm gonna recommend it forever.
This has been an excellent year for DC. First with us finally getting a chance to see the Snyder Cut in all its glory, and now with a Suicide Squad movie we could safely call great with a straight face. The action is ridiculous, the pacing never drags, the banter between characters ranges from gut-bustingly hilarious to endearingly sweet, and it's easily the most fun I had at the movie theater all summer. Possibly the whole year, we'll see. If we could expect more films like this from DC further down the line, then they are definitely on the right track.
Now, before we head out, it's time for another round of shortcut reviews. Since it's been a hot minute since the last Midnight Movie Madness video, we're going to take a look at 7 films that I just couldn't find the time to make full reviews of, starting with 3 other comic book superhero outings from DC's rival company of Marvel: Eternals, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, and Venom: Let There Be Carnage. The MCU entries both faced their own set of heated controversies before and after they had their say in theaters, mostly from sad, angry clickbait personalities who find things like inclusion or representation just as life-threatening as, well, the current pandemic we're all still trying to shake off. While Shang-Chi managed to overcome these unwarranted obstacles by delivering a heartfelt martial arts epic with plenty of memorable new characters I'd like to see more of, and some of the best fight choreography I've seen in any of these movies, instantly making it one of the best standalone outings since Black Panther, Eternals had a bit of a tough time reaching most folks. Sure, it probably would have benefited as a Disney Plus miniseries, considering its enormous cast of characters most of us are none too familiar with. I still think the movie had more merit than most would give it credit for, even with its time-constraining 2.5-hour runtime. It may not be the best of the MCU franchise, but I still say it's one worth checking out. If only the same could be said about Tom Hardy's second movie with a gay alien goop monster. I really wanted to be on board with this, I really did, but the movie persisted in doubling down on everything that made its predecessor such a mediocre mess best suited for the early 2000s. If anything, this movie made me realize why director Sam Raimi didn't want to include Venom in Spider-Man 3 in the first place. He's just not that great of a character to make a whole movie out of, let alone two. Also, it's never a good sign when the most memorable moment that happens in the film's surprisingly brief running time is the mid-credits stinger, and even then, that doesn't inspire much confidence in whatever future Sony has in store for these iconic characters. Speaking of which, you can't get more iconic than with the return of these classic screen IPs, James Bond, Michael Myers, and the Ghostbusters. A lot of hype and build-up went into all three of these long-delayed motion pictures, notably the final outing of Daniel Craig's 15-year tenure as Agent 007, No Time to Die. Now that it finally got released, I'm more than happy to say that the majority of my sky-high expectations were perfectly met. Aside from a few personal nitpicks regarding the 3-hour running time and the main villain leaving a lot to be desired, the movie still left me with an emotionally satisfying concluding chapter that's full of amazing action set pieces, clever nods to past entries, and fun new characters just waiting to get their own spin-offs. Nothing more to add except nobody does it better than Daniel Craig. Halloween Kills, on the other hand, delivers on everything the title promises, with the infamous shape racking up as big a body count as either Freddy or Jason. If that's the main draw for you, then you're going to get your money's worth. But if you're here for the things that made the 2018 reboot worthwhile, like story, character growth, and clever subversions to the slasher genre, then you're most likely going to be severely disappointed with the route they took. Because of this being half an incomplete story, the pacing grinds to a screeching halt more often than it should. It leaves most of the legacy characters with hardly anything to do besides recapping the 1978 original nonstop. The core mob mentality theme falls flat due to how ham-fisted and on the nose it turned out to be, and the citizens of Haddonfield take their rightful place in history as the dumbest crop of people I have ever seen in a horror movie. Unless they explain in the next movie that Michael had a ton of Uno reverse cards up his sleeve this whole time, there's very little excuse for this seemingly smart take on the franchise to act this lazily incompetent. As for Ghostbusters Afterlife, I'm still baffled by the poor reception it received from most critics. This was, in my opinion, a pretty damn good Ghostbusters movie that honors everything that came before, minus the 2016 reboot, while also establishing its own identity. Does it lean too heavily on the nostalgia? Sure. But unlike another tentpole franchise, this one actually gave longtime fans the one thing we wanted to see that the other did not, which resulted in the hardest cry I had at the movie theater since Avengers Endgame. Take that what you will, I had a great time with Afterlife. But if you're feeling a bit fatigued from the multitude of superhero flicks and nostalgia-based properties and are looking for something new and different, then perhaps the first part of director Denis Villeneuve's adaptation of Dune will help satiate those needs. Despite it only being a third of an incredibly dense story that many have tried and failed to adapt in the past, or in some cases stolen and repurposed, Dune Part 1 actually turned out to be more accessible than I anticipated and immensely satisfying from start to end of start. It fully realizes the world that author Frank Herbert envisioned back in 1965 and presents it on a scale that harkens back to the glory days of David Lean or Cecil B. DeMille. In other words, this movie is epic as as well as one of the year's greatest cinematic achievements. Okay, I guess we can make time for one more movie. Spider-Man No Way Home was the biggest movie event the world had seen throughout this pandemic era, as well as one that lived up to damn near every single expectation you could throw at it. This movie was so big that I even showed up to the IMAX theater on opening night in full-blown Spidey getup. It was that awesome of an experience. A few minor nitpicks aside, including one after-credit stinger that I really could have gone without seeing, this was everything a longtime Spider-Man fan like myself could have asked for. I would talk more about it if I had more time, but I'll be sure to elaborate even further on my end of the year list. And that is a wrap on our super late review of the Suicide Squad, as well as our 6th installment of Shortcut Reviews. Now we leave it up to you. What did you think of the movies we mentioned tonight? Let us know in the comments down below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you want to see more movie reviews from us in the near future. With that said, our show is now concluded. Thank you all for watching for the past 10 years. I'm the host.
I'm Lala.
I'm Hildebeast.
And we will see you next time on another
Midnight Movie Madness!
That will do it.